fun begins because we get to listen to a wonderful Major General Tarbet speak to us. I'm going to give a little bit of a background on General Tarbet. He was appointed the adjutant, I hope I say that right, adjutant General of Utah in October 2000. He is responsible for 6,500 soldiers.
I know what she's reading, and I'm going to cut that short. Brian Tarbet, I'm a soldier, married, 5 kids, one of them in the Guard. Okay? I love showing that. You know, I have my usual stock speech to give you guys tonight. And it's not bad. I quote Churchill, Lincoln, all sorts of key figures. This is in the Washington Post I read last night, and I kind of changed my mind what I wanted to visit with you about. And I'm glad it's the case because you are young Republicans. So I need to build a bridge to you tonight. I'll give you the stock stuff. We've got about 650 Army Guardsmen out there tonight. Pretty much 2/3 in Iraq. 1/3 of them are in Afghanistan. If you remember that guy with the real short haircut holding his daughter, he's the company commander of the 118th Sapper Company. They are driving around on the roads of Afghanistan day and night and getting blown up almost daily. It's a very, very tough mission. We've lost 1 soldier already, and I worry about that one each and every night. Another unit that we have over there is our medical company. They're in the process of coming home. We're waiting for the government to schedule our aircraft to bring us out. They're all done. They're waiting for the airplane. And then in Iraq, we've got the 141 MI Battalion, big linguist outfit, does intelligence work, responsible now for half of the country, the northern half of the country. And the 19th Special Forces Group Support Company. So there's about 400 there. We've also got some Air Guardsmen there. Air Guardsmen all over the world all the time. We are a very, very busy organization. And have been now for a decade. A decade. How old were you on 9/11? You guys are probably about 10. I'm just saying, that's how long we've been doing this. You can imagine, many, many, many of my units have deployed 3 times. Many of my soldiers have deployed more than that. And when I say deployments, that's not just going over for 90 days. Initially, that was 1.5 years per, and then it became 12 months. We got that shortened down a little bit. So some people have been away from their families for 4 or 5 years, half of the last decade. It's quite a commitment. As I came out of D.C., I was back there for 5 days in the Emerald City. Yeah, I'm begging for money like everybody else. But when I came home, there was an article in the Washington Post that struck me that I wanted to share with you. It talked about a Marine general, and it had a picture of this general hugging a young Marine. His name is General Kelly. He's a 3-star general. He's hugging a young Marine who is missing an arm. The story went on to say that this young man was in Kelly's son's platoon in Afghanistan. 4 days before that picture was taken, Kelly's son was killed. He was the platoon leader. This was in November. It talked about how General Kelly then wanted to go on, went on to talk. He asked the guy who introduced him, he says, just don't talk about my son. 4 days. 4 days after his son was killed, he gave this talk. And he talked about how America has lost connection with its military. I want to give you a couple of quick factoids on this. Anybody have an idea what the population of the United States was in 1940? About 130 million, give or take. You want to know how many people wore the uniform in World War II? 16 million. So, I am a graduate of the Agricultural College up in Logan, so I'll do a little quick math. That's well over 10% of our population wore the uniform. Now, anybody know what the number is today with a population of over 300 million? 2 million. Less than 1% of us wears the uniform today. In my grandmother's family, there were 13 kids. Not all of them at that time lived to adulthood. So out of that shot group of about 11 kids that became adults, 3 of them were girls, 8 of them were sons. 5 of those sons were in World War II. 5. The other brothers, including my dad, were older, 25, 30, 35, and were farmers. So they were not drafted. 5 of those sons. 1 did not come back. I had an uncle that went down on a troop ship en route to England. Imagine that. Imagine almost everybody up and down your block where you live having someone in the service. Almost every family had someone in the service. The sense of the commitment of the population to World War II, everybody was in it. Today, less than 1%. Now, I don't want to sound curlish. You are all taxpayers. You have taken excellent care of our soldiers for that past 10 years. We have been funded. We've been able to do what we've had to do. We appreciate that. We know money doesn't grow on trees. It comes from taxpayers. The Defense Department isn't the most careful steward of money. We're not efficient. We can't achieve efficiencies. I put soldiers on the ground wearing uniforms. That's not productive in the classical business sense. So I want to tell you, I appreciate that, but I do need to signal to you young folks, and this is a concern that's shared by the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary Gates, is that the military is no longer out in the communities. It's no longer a sense of what we call shared sacrifice with a lot of Americans. It isn't. How many of you have a family member in the military by show of hands? Well, you're off the charts here, right? We're Republicans.
We're Republicans for a reason.
Patriots here. All right, let's do a little bit. How many active duty? Reserve? Guard? Okay, interesting. The split. You would be surprised when I ask that question in most audiences, the response I get. It's not many. Because it can be. Do the math. Less than 1%. So part of what I need to urge you tonight is to talk with your neighbors and educate them that for a number of families around this country tonight, it is World War II. For the parents that are the parents of that young captain in that picture, it's World War II. They miss their son just like my grandmother missed all of hers. And I think by and large, you get up, you go to work each day, you don't sense that. It's a very, very serious concern. What's the greatest threat to national security today in the world? Terrorism. Terrorism? Good guess.
Apathy. Resources?
Apathy, resources. It's the budget. It's the federal deficit. Now, did I make that up just so I can come and cater to a bunch of Republicans? Nope. That's quoting Admiral Mullen and many other senior military officers who will tell you that that is the greatest threat we face today. Wars are won by and large by economics. Were we vastly better soldiers than the Germans in World War II? No, we weren't. Were we better than the Japanese? No, they were fierce. But that great industrial base, that great population of 130 million, simply overwhelmed them. Do you think we're in a position today to overwhelm our adversaries? No. You have to be concerned about it, folks. You have to think about this long term. And the trend lines are not where you want them to be. So as we go forward, keep that in mind. We have got some heavy lifting to do as a people in order to sustain our military. I was born in the very, very last year of the 40s. Now don't gag, it's not that bad. The last year of the 40s. So I grew up in the Cold War. The Cold War was my frame of reference. Worrying about Hill Air Force Base being nuked and the mushroom cloud would come over, creep into Cache Valley, and that'd be it. Well, after Korea, when we had a hollow army, we have had a standing military much larger than we've ever had historically in this country. We are a nation that has done this. But after the Cold War, we kept a significant standing military of many millions. We could afford it. So there's going to have to be some hard decisions made because militaries are not cheap. Weapon systems are not cheap. So we're going to have to find a way to collectively, and I just want to leave you with that tonight, that we need to put some careful brain power to what we're doing here. It's a huge challenge for you and for your kids. Because the threat that you talked about, the terrorism, that will be the frame of reference for the next decades, 2 or 3. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. So, aren't you glad I came over? But I just want to tell you, that's the huge challenge that we've got. The reason I talked about Saving Private Ryan, I want to tell you something. I love that movie. It's an extraordinary film. Well made, historically accurate, right down to the patches on the shoulders. And we had the opportunity 2 years ago this August to be in Normandy. We had a tanker that had to fly to Europe. They dropped us off. We got to spend 3 days touring those battlefields, about 40 of us. I took all of my senior enlisted and my senior officers, and we had a guy come and take us through all the beaches, all the drop zones. We got the wonderful tour, Point du Hoc, the whole thing. And when you stand down on Omaha Beach and look up at those cliffs and imagine yourself in one of those Higgins boats with Germans shooting down on you, you cannot fathom how they did it. It does not seem possible. From a military sense, you look at it. And it was people near your age, many who died by the hundreds in the initial waves, who went and took those hills. It was the classic American thing. All the battle plans broke down. All the landing craft went in the wrong place. I mean, it was, it was a giant bit of confusion. But individual Americans doing what they do, stitch that together over the course of the next 15 hours, save that beachhead. It's a very important thing. And you should be very, very proud of that heritage. Because many of those were your uncles, or not your uncles, your great uncles and your grandfathers who did that. And they did it, and they are that greatest generation, and I think that title fits for them. That said, I'm pretty proud of the generation that I see that are in our ranks today. You should be as well. These are as well trained, as competent as soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines as we've ever had. Don't buy this crap about how they're guys that can't get jobs elsewhere. Not true. Don't buy this that they can't, that they don't have high test scores. That's not true. They're very bright, very capable. They operate very complex weapon systems, and they do it well. And you're asking them to be, in the twinkling of an eye, an infantryman and a diplomat. That fast. Once that door gets kicked open, do you shoot or do you talk? Imagine trying to make that decision when you're 18 or 19 years of age. When you have seen many of your friends blown up over the course of prior weeks, it's a very, very complex battlefield that we're in today.